Hello, everybody. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. Today's video is going to be Astral Return of a Lost Soul. And stick with it. You'll see at the end that we have a happy ending. And I know we probably can all use a happy ending right about now. Before I get to that, though, I just want to talk about a couple of things. The last video, where I traveled to the year 3000 and reported what I saw there. One particular person said that he liked it, even though it was a bit of a dystopia. Now, I don't judge. I try not to judge what I see in the future because I'm in no position to act as a judge over a people, over a society, and over a civilization. Because I think to myself, what if someone from another time period came here right now? How would we be judged? Think about it. You have to hide inside your home right now so you don't catch a plague that might kill you. When you go outside, you have to wear a mask so this plague doesn't kill you. And we have our streets and our society seems to be evenly divided down the middle, each looking at the other as an enemy. We have social unrest and chaos on our streets. Not that long ago, I was watching my computer and there was a live news feed from a drone. And I sat there for a half an hour watching a Target being looted by a bunch of folks. In the broad daylight, just going in and walking out with stuff. And then they switched to another street, and this was up in Philadelphia, I believe. And a bunch of little businesses were being burned and broken into, and a lot of stuff was just carted off. Now, I imagine you could say to yourself, well, it's just a Target. They've got a lot of money. Maybe so. But what about all those little businesses that went up in flames and all of their goods stolen? I mean, what do those small business owners do? Just trying to work hard and provide for their family. What did they do to deserve that? So, I'm not going to judge another society because I would not want our society judged either. Okay, I'm going to get into this episode. And I just want to remind folks of a couple of things. Remember, when you're dealing with souls or spirits who have passed over, in certain circumstances, they can be stuck in the lower astral. And if they become stuck and they sink into a deep depression, days, weeks, months, years can roll by, and these people can still be stuck in that deep depression. If you recall the movie, The Never-Ending Story, there was a swamp of sadness, which some of the characters got stuck in. And it was just, the more they existed in this sad, depressing area, the more it sucked them down into this pool of depression and sadness. Anyone who's experienced deep depression in the physical can know, at least certainly have an inkling of how bad it can be. But when we're in the physical, we still have physical needs that break things up. For instance, you might find yourself lying on your bed in a deep depression, but you still have to get up and use the bathroom. You might go without food and water for a while, but eventually you're going to get up and you're going to eat and drink something. That serves to break up the time, break up the depression. In the astral, you don't have that. You can sink into a deep depression and nothing's going to disturb you. I recall, I usually recommend not to project when you are feeling depressed. And I remember I told the story a while back where I did so. I did project when I was feeling a bit depressed. And I found myself at the site of a a relatively minor car accident that I'd had. Nobody had been hurt. Some damage had been done to my car. But in the lower astral, I found myself consumed by depression. And the more I thought about it, the deeper I went. And it got so deep in this place that I felt trapped. And in a weird way, it started feeling a little good too, which is just a very odd sensation. Now, naturally, I was brought back to my body and I learned from that experience. But I just want people to understand just how bad depression can get, and certainly can get in the lower astral, especially if you pass over in strange or unsettling circumstances. But as I said, please stay to the end. This story ends on a positive note. Okay, astral return of a lost soul. About 10 years ago, I accepted a job down south. I didn't want to move my family because my daughter had one more year in high school, and I didn't want to uproot her. So I moved down to North Carolina by myself, and I left my wife and daughter back in New Jersey. I rented a very nice luxury apartment that had once been a textile factory, but it had closed down and remained vacant for decades before a developer came along and turned it into an apartment complex. The building gave me a nice room on the top floor. The other apartments were spaced far apart. I never heard a peep out of any of the other tenants the whole time I lived there. Sometimes it felt like I was the only resident on the floor. The ceilings were very tall. You had to call maintenance just to change a light bulb. The doors were about 9 feet high, or about 2.75 meters for our metric friends, and they were solid metal. You would have needed a battering ram and a lot of time to break in, so I felt safe and secure. I was living there for about a month when I heard a knock. It was a sharp rap. I was startled at first because I didn't know anyone in the building and wasn't expecting any visitors. I got up and answered the door, only to find there was no one there. I dismissed it as probably an echo from another door or some other sound that I was unfamiliar with in this new cavernous building. It was a few days later, when I was reading a book, when that same sharp, singular knock happened again. I put the book down and took my time getting up to answer the door. Like before, there was no one there. I was a little annoyed, as I thought some kid in one of the other apartments was pranking me for fun. I decided then I was going to be on high alert for the next occurrence. Another few days went by when it happened again. This time, I flew out of my chair and ran to the door. No more than a few seconds could have elapsed from the knock to my flinging open the door like a crazed madman. Once more, however, I was greeted by nothing but an empty hall. This time I ran down the hall looking for anyone who might be making a quick escape, but there was no sign of anyone stirring in the silent hall. On the way back through my door, though, I smelled a faint wisp of ozone that put me on another track. Perhaps my practical joker wasn't a mischievous little school kid, but a spirit trying to attract my attention. I decided to do some investigation on my next astral projection. That night, I left my body and I went looking for my mysterious knocking visitor. I saw a foggy figure in the far corner of my main living area, curled up in a ball. I thought of something sad to lower my vibratory level to just a hair above the physical plane. Once done, I saw a teenage girl with dirty blonde, unwashed hair in a t-shirt and battered jeans. She was rocking back and forth and moaning quietly. My fatherly instincts kicked in, and I knelt in front of this forlorn spirit. "What's wrong, honey?" I asked. "I'm lost and trapped here," she whispered. "I don't know what happened to my boyfriend. He must be around here looking for me." "What's your name?" I inquired. "Carolyn," she answered shyly. Her arms had IV drug track marks on them. A question came to my mind. "Carolyn, do you know what year this is?" She looked at me as though I was an insane person asking if the moon was made of Swiss cheese. 1972, of course. I saw in her mind her whole tragic story. Her parents had been very distant and cold, and very straight-laced and religious. She'd taken up with a boyfriend with whom she'd shoot up in the abandoned factory, now my current home. They would go to the top floor and use a hidden space between the brick and the drywall for privacy. She had overdosed and died there, abandoned by her boyfriend, who feared getting in trouble with the police. Her body hadn't been found for a long time, and to the police, she'd been just another dead Jane Doe. Her spirit, however, had gone into a kind of stasis or deep depression where she existed in misery and loss while the years in the physical plane flew by. My arrival had awakened her. She sensed on some level that I was someone who could help her escape this hell that she had been trapped in for so many decades. "Carolyn," I said, taking her hand, "you must clear your mind and concentrate on sending out a clear message asking for help. When help comes, you must go with them. However, when it comes time to reincarnate or live again, you must choose carefully. Find parents who will love and care for you. If anyone tries to get you to hurry and take a body, tell them that you claim the right of free choice. Use those words. Remember, they can't force you to take a body if you stand firm." Carolyn appeared to take this all in for a moment. Then she closed her eyes. In minutes, another being appeared next to her, and together they faded away. I was rewarded with a smile from Carolyn as she disappeared. I thought I'd seen the last of Carolyn all those years ago, until just this past Tuesday night. I was slipping out of my sleeping body when she appeared before me. "Hello, Rick," she said. I almost didn't recognize her. Gone was the bedraggled spirit that I'd last seen 10 years before. Now I beheld an assured and confident soul who glowed with beauty and purpose. "Carolyn," I gasped, "is that you?" "Yes," she laughed. "I'll be taking my new body soon, but I wanted to come and thank you first. They did try to take me or to talk me into getting another body too soon, but I said the words you taught me and it worked. My new parents are a loving couple and will be a great family. I'm going to stay away from drugs this time too." "What have you been doing these last 10 years?" I asked. She shrugged. "I have been reviewing my life and how my choices affected those around me. I've also seen many of my parallel selves and tried to learn from their mistakes and the victories as well. It's been exhausting at times, but I'm ready to give physical life another try. I hope to do better this time, not only for myself, but for others. I wished her good luck with her new life mission, and she faded away one last time. Postscript. After my initial contact with Carolyn 10 years ago or so, I searched for some mention of her in the local library using the microfiche machine that stores articles from old newspapers going back over a century. I never found an obituary, but I did discover a young woman with her name and fitting her description, which had been reported missing to the police back in 1972. Well, that was a very powerful experience for me. I'm glad I questioned her about what she had been up to, because I think that's an area that not a lot of folks are familiar with or even know about. I know my knowledge gap is pretty broad in that what happens in that in-between time. And notice that she not only looked at her own mistakes and how they affected her, as well as her parallel selves, but how they affected others. We are all pebbles thrown into the water, causing ripples that fan out in ever larger circles. Everything that we do, every decision we make affects those around us. It even eventually ends up affecting people who we've never even heard of, that we'll never even meet in this lifetime. So we're all connected. Everything we do and think and act upon has an effect on others, and we need to be conscious of that when we make our everyday decisions. Well, that was the experience, and I hope it was of interest to you. I have playlists. I have 2 of them right now on the channel. If you want to, you've got some time, you want to hit a video after another without having to continually search and hit play. One has all the videos in order, and the other one has only the question videos in the playlist in case you want to, just want to hear a bunch of question and answer type of videos all together. So, well, that's it for this week. And as always, I'm Rick, and I'll see you on the astral plane.